The title of Matt Heusser's talk is In Defense of Wisdom.
Thank you, Paul.
You're welcome. Your time starts now.
So, last year at CAST, I heard a comment that was, you can't belong to this community and not be a moral relativist. And I raised my red card and said, I'm not a moral relativist and I think I belong to this community. Ironically, the original statement was an absolute statement. This week I heard there are, after all, no absolute truths. It's all a matter of perspective, which to an extent I agree with. You may like chocolate ice cream and I may like vanilla, and what's true for you is not what's true for me. And to that extent, that is true. And as a postmodernist, I might even go so far as to say more things are like chocolate and vanilla than many people realize. But there's a line. So when I overheard that at CAST, I realized that within my career, every time I've heard the little voice in my head saying, or often the actual person speaking to me out loud saying there are no absolute truths, it's all perspective, there's no absolute right or wrong. It was always something like, look, Matt, we're all going to get a bonus if we hit this deadline, so just say the software's fine. Or things along those lines. There's the perception of reality that is the status quo, and there's what reality actually is, and let's just allow this to persist so we will get nice benefit at end. It has happened to me a few times, and the relativistic voice was always the one saying, just let it go. And I have to say that in my career, there's usually three choices, right? You can let it go, you can step out, or you can take the weasel way, which Scott Adams has defined as, you might tell your boss, this is the status. If you want to do something about it, it's on you. Or you might try to get out of the meeting, call in sick that day. So when people ask, is it really going to work, you're not there. I've taken the weasel way a few times. I've never been proud of it, not once. So if I would, I just wanted to share a couple of lines from a couple of people that are much more eloquent than I could ever hope to be. The first is C.S. Lewis. He gave a speech at King's College. And he said, to 9 out of 10 of you, the choice which could lead to scoundrelism will come when it does come in no dramatic colors. Obviously bad men, obviously threatening or bribing will almost certainly not appear. Over a drink, a cup of coffee, disguised as triviality and sandwiched between two jokes from the lips of a man or woman whom you've recently been getting to know better and would hope to know better still. Just at the moment when you're most anxious not to appear crude or naive, the hint will come. It'll be the hint of something which the public, the ignorant, romantic public, would never understand, something even the outsiders in our own profession are apt to make a fuss about. But something, says your new friend, which we, and at the word we, you try not to blush for mere pleasure, something we always do. And you will be drawn in, if you are drawn in, not by desire for gain or ease, but simply because at that moment when the cup is so near your lips, you cannot bear to be thrust back into the cold outer world. It'll be so terrible to see the other man's face, the genial, confidential, delightfully sophisticated face, turn cold and contemptuous to know you'd been tried for the inner ring and rejected. And if you're drawn in, next week it'll be something a little further from the rules, and next year something further still, but in all the jolliest, friendliest spirit. It may end in a crash, a scandal, and penal servitude. It may end in millions, a peerage, and giving the prizes as your old school, but you will be a scoundrel. Against this, the voice of relativism, which in many ways, chocolate and vanilla is good, there's another voice, and it's Lady Wisdom. And I'm going to close with the quote for the book of Proverbs. Happy is the man who finds wisdom, and the man who gets understanding. The gain from it is better than gain from silver. Its profit is better than gold. She is more precious than jewels, and nothing you desire can compare with her. Long life is in her right hand. In her left are riches and honor. Her ways are ways of pleasantness, and all her paths are peace. She is a tree of life to those who may hold of her. Those who hold her fast are called happy. When I took the weasel way, if I would have stood up, I could have got another job. I never had a good night's sleep, and a good night's sleep is worth something. Thank you.
Hi, Matt. I can't find fault with the sentiment of what you're saying. I think we've all met those parts, but to me that's always been a question of integrity and not wisdom. Can you explain why you chose the word wisdom for this?
Wisdom is a lady, and she's calling, and integrity goes along with her. And all of her ways lead to life. So, if there is an umbrella that is wisdom, integrity is part of it, but there's so much more, and I only had 5 minutes.
Okay, understood.
Okay, so I get my chance now. So, compromise. How does that affect wisdom? And what I'm specifically thinking about is a lot of times we have information, we can provide the information, but we're also asked to provide an opinion, which may or may not be wise to start serving as the gatekeeper. A lot of us, of course, believe we shouldn't be gatekeepers. So do I compromise and just keep my mouth shut? And how wise is that? Or just provide the information, or what?
Two answers, and I realize these are strong statements, which are not, software development is not usually life or death, but can you compromise with evil? I mean, really, can you do it? Is that okay? Second, so there were some engineers at NASA that were afraid that because of issues with the integrity of the Challenger's O-rings and a lot of other things that had sort of been checked off as, well, we'll let this one go because it's a redundant system, so many times that the system really had problems. And they went to management and said, you really shouldn't let this ship up. You can't let this ship up. It's a problem. So, and the management did all the tricks that management does. Can you say for certain? Do you know? Do you have proof? Do you have evidence? We have other expert opinions that are different than yours. They did all the right things. Their conscience is mostly clear. But you have to wonder, on that November day when the Space Shuttle Challenger exploded, and like I said, things are more nuanced than that. But when that ship exploded, you got to wonder in their heart of hearts, if some of them said, man, what if I would have called the New York Times and said this is not okay? What if we would have gotten another week to look into this dang thing to figure out what the problem was? I wish I had. You can get another job. Of course, this is heuristic. I could have gotten another job. I speak from my own experience. I wouldn't have been fired. They needed me. They needed me on those projects. It would have been foolish to let me go. I would have gotten a bad annual review or something, right? Is it really worth it?
But wasn't me on the O-rings, but the system I was working on blew up on that mission. So we all felt bad, by the way.
And I don't mean to be unsensitive if I come off that way. That's it.
No.
All right, the stack is empty. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you. Pleasure.